Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 110, which is called The Steam Ninja Scrolls, The Resurrection Hot Springs. And finally this arc, I suppose, is getting towards, I think, having an actual plot, rather than just a sort of ongoing idea of, just developing Mirai through these kind of events that are happening. There's actually like a plot that's come into play with this one, and what happens here is kind of directly continuing into the next episode in a kind of bigger way than has been happening up to now. In that, I think right at the end, it gets to a really, really good place, and they're finally doing something, I think, quite notable. Again, it was another one of those episodes where, like, I think the first half, you could sort of tell they were stretching things a little bit. It was just Mirai and Tatsumi talking, but they got some good emotions across. They got across, again, they both have the desire to meet their loved ones. For her, it's her mother, and for Mirai, it's her father. And just, hitting home that that's ultimately what this is all about. That, I suppose when you get there to the, cult, basically, that these are all people who just really want to see and say something to their loved ones who died before they could. And here's someone taking advantage of them. And the entire time you're like, okay, this isn't right, like, because you see the girl who tells them the way to go has been sort of following them, and then like the lie comes in that she said she met her brother yesterday, but then when they get there, they're like, we've been waiting here for a month before this could happen, and they don't see it because they're so lost in the, it actually works, we can see our lost loved ones again, that Mirai sort of lost track a little bit of the details of this situation, which are really, really sketchy. Immediately, in that straight away you notice it's all girls there, which I don't know if that's a specific part of this or anything like that, but that I thought was a fairly notable thing. And then just Ryuki from the get-go is fairly creepy, even though it takes until like right at the end in the preview for the next episode to fully, I suppose, give you an idea of like, okay, something's up here. And I think the main thing is that like when Mirai says her name and says her father's name, immediately something happens. He knows Asuma, who he's dealing with, and then it takes until the preview for the next episode to fully reveal that, okay, we are getting into the Jashin stuff. This is connecting things to Hidan, who obviously was the character who killed Asuma, and I think he's actually from this area, the Land of Steam, so that's how everything sort of comes together, and there's a sort of fitting nature to, here is someone trying to become immortal like Hidan, and here is Asuma's daughter trying to stop that from happening, and she's going to have to save Tatsumi along the way and these other girls. And again, we still have the setup that the whole Mirai learning about what the king is that she has to protect is, and they're setting that up in the next episode as well. I do wonder, will Kakashi and Guy kind of appear at some point, because they did just kind of leave them at the start of this episode. So I'm wondering, is this just going to be a solo thing here for Mirai, which I'd be perfectly all for, but like if something else happens, I think it would be cool for Kakashi and Guy to come in as backup, but Mirai still gets the big fight. So yeah, in that sense, I think this is a fairly simple episode to discuss, in that I think they definitely spent their time getting to the more notable stuff towards the end. I don't think it's necessarily a huge problem that they did that, but it also doesn't make for the most interesting first half of the episode. And then once they get there to the cult of, I suppose, Jashin, as it's eventually revealed, that's when it starts to get, I think, very, very interesting, and I think we're in a good spot here. And I think there's a lot of hope that they can actually resolve this in a pretty interesting way, and I hope they manage to do that. I think beyond that, I did actually like the little bits of the journey that Mirai and Tatsumi took, of just showing how capable Mirai is, chopping down trees, they're hopping across these kind of streams and stuff like that, and Tatsumi sort of compliments her for that, so that was nice. I thought the dynamic between the two girls was actually reasonably well done also. But like I said, this was more of just a setup to get us to, okay, they are actually having something a bit more serious happen in this arc, and not just, I suppose, Mirai gradually learning bits and pieces about her father. I still think ultimately, I suppose, what is going to be the way they end up with on that, in that we did have like Mirai kind of, even before they got to the quote-unquote resurrection hot spring, just kind of thinking about things, and like in her kind of inner mind getting close to seeing her father, and that she does touch him before Tatsumi's like, hey, are you still here? So I wonder where they're going with that necessarily. Is it just a case of like all these little bits and pieces that she's learning from the people are gradually forming a picture of her father in her mind, and eventually she'll grow to have a sense of this is who he was? Because otherwise, like, is there going to be some weird thing where she does somehow manage to gain an actual insight into who he was? I'm not sure, but I think the idea that they're going down is that I assume Mirai is going to learn in the next episode, like, the specifics of, here's the person who killed your father, here's what he was fighting for at that point in time, and Mirai fighting someone of a similar situation to protect the people there, and that Asuma was doing it to protect his squad, Kurenai, and, Mirai, I suppose, as well, at the time. And I think that they can definitely bring this together in a way where, like, I think through Mirai going through something very similar to what her father went through, she'll gain an understanding for what he sort of lived and died for, and that will kind of help her form her picture of him going forward. And then I suppose, will they do anything to resolve, give Tatsumi any sort of resolution? Because it would seem a bit weird to just include her here, have this all go wrong, and, of course, like, she's saved by Mirai in the end, I assume, is what's going to happen, but then how do you end that off without her getting some sort of resolution about her mother? I'm not entirely sure, but like I said, I think they're going places with this arc now. The whole Joshin thing, which is ultimately a concept we know very, very little about, other than that it is a special, ceremony type thing that works. Hidan was immortal, as far as we're aware. He's still, I suppose he died of, like, malnutrition in the end, but, like, he was effectively immune to dying from, like, violent means, basically, and the only way to stop that was to, like, bury him so that he couldn't, like, reform, which is what Shikamaru did. I assume we're going to learn about, okay, here are the specifics of this ceremony. It probably requires you to kill 20 innocent people, and that gives you that immortality. I'd like to know more about, like, what specifically Joshin is. Is it just like a ninjutsu, or what? That's the, I suppose, the question here, and how much Hidan stuff are we going to get? Is this guy related to him? Did he know him, or is it just a cult that they're both sort of part of? Either way, that's good world building, stuff we didn't know about that we're going to learn about. So that's my thoughts on the episodes in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts were on it. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.